Okay, hello everyone. Thanks for joining us this evening. My name is Sydney Krawiec and I work here at Peters Township Public Library.
And I'm Evan Caruso. I'm with Peters Township Police.
And we are going to be giving a presentation about scams and how to stay alert with them. And all this information is from the FTC. Oh, did I not turn it back on? Oh, well. There we go. So before we get started, if you have questions that are pertinent, please feel free to ask them as they come up. Do refrain from sharing any personal information. That's how they get you. And remember that this is from information provided by the FTC. I am not a scam expert. Detective Caruso can speak to his experience with things, but if you have any further questions, please let us know and hopefully we can point you in the right direction. So as I said, all of this information does come from the FTC. I'll share out the slides afterwards with links to them. So this isn't stuff we Googled. What's the best way to avoid a scam? This is all from the Federal Trade Commission. So the Federal Trade Commission was created in 1914 to bust the trust, and their whole job is to try to create legislature and help police things, or not police, only police anti-competitive practices, but to create legislature to help you as the consumer. So they create effective law enforcement against deception, unfair, and anti-competitive business practices, and they help advocate for consumers' interests by sharing their expertise with federal and state legislatures and government agencies. And then they develop tools through workshops and conferences and hearings to try to help us, the public. So today's presentation is going to be focused on two parts. Part one, avoiding scams. We can't get rid of them. That's where the FTC and wonderful police officers work to try to catch people who do these, but we are going to encounter them. So we need to know how to identify them, how to avoid them. And then part two is what to do if we feel we have been scammed. So avoiding scams. We have the pretenders, the problems, the prizes, pressure, and pay. So the great pretenders, someone is scamming you. They are pretending most likely to be someone that they are not. They're just not coming up to you and say, hey, I want you to give me money. They're pretending to be an organization such as a government organization, Social Security, the IRS. They're pretending to be a business you may know, like your utility company, a store you've been to, a charity, or even your place of work. Or they could pretend to be a family or friend. They could phone, text, email, and that's where caller ID and emails can be tricky because it can pop up and look like it's that person. So they're pretending and they're presenting you with a problem. You owe money. Someone's in trouble. There's a virus on your computer. You're in trouble with the government. The police are after you. There's an issue with your account. Or maybe there's a prize. You won the lottery or a sweepstakes, but for some reason you have to pay money to get money, which should be a red flag there.
And one thing for the government side of things, even in 2023, I believe that just about all communications that the government has is still through the snail mail. So if you are behind on taxes, or if there is some court proceeding that you have to attend, all those notices are still sent through the mail, and it should be, readily identifiable that those are legitimate. Looking at the return address, looking at the headers on those letters, and then of course, phone numbers or addresses that might be, printed on there. For the prizes, the thing we always say is, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is, especially if it's a sweepstakes or a prize that you never applied for, put your name in the first place. It's one thing if like the township was having a raffle that, you put your little ticket in and, you hope they draw your name. But if they're saying that, like, just because you shop at Walmart, you were entered into the sweepstakes, it's very big red flag.
So someone's come to you, they're pretending, they've presented you with a prize or a problem, and now they put some pressure on you. They want you to act immediately. They don't want you to hang up the phone. They don't want to give you time to check your story, and they may threaten you, whether it's a threat of arrest, sue, suing you, deportation. You're going to be in some kind of trouble. They're trying to keep you and getting you to act quickly.
We've seen a lot where, like that one point says, they'll literally stay on the phone with you the whole time. They know that the procedure to go through from going to the store or going to the bank, exactly what to say to have the best result. And so they want to stay on the phone with you that whole time and walk you through it. And you would think that the bank or that business would see that person on the phone and almost being like a puppet where they're being told every action. But it still happens. So that pressure of staying on the phone, you'll never hear that from the police. We'll never say stay on the phone or you're going to get in trouble. And you have the power to hit end or hang it up, put the phone down.
And then after they've tried to put pressure on you, they usually tell you that you need to pay a certain way. So if it's your utility company and you always pay by mailing them a check, you always pay online, they're asking you to pay a different way than you normally do. That should be a big red flag. But it may be by cryptocurrency, wiring money, a payment app, gift cards, or telling you to send a check because they're going to send you one that you deposit and then you're going to send them a check back. But again, your regular utilities, companies, government agencies are not going to ask for money in a different way than they normally do. If you always pay your mortgage a certain way, your mortgage company isn't going to say, hey, instead, I want you to get me $500 worth of Amazon gift cards this month. They are not going to do that.
And this is the point where if you remember nothing else tonight, gift card is scam. Gift card is scam. Whether it's something they say in the mail, over the phone. If you stop and think about, in what world would you pay your power bill with a Best Buy gift card? But we've seen it all too often. So gift card, scam.
So those are 5 common things that you'll see. So we have people pretending there's a problem or a prize. They're putting pressure on you and they want you to pay a certain way. I feel like I missed one. And then here's some common scam method. Common scams, payment methods, and contacts. So common scams, the FTC breaks them down into different subcategories. Online shopping is one of their largest ones, where you buy something and you think you're getting a chair for your back porch and it really comes out it's a 2-inch chair. So they lied about how something was listed online and you've given your money to people and they've frauded you. Business imposters, government imposters, people giving bad investment advice, romance scams, job scams, tech support scams, and like we said earlier, prizes, sweepstakes, lottery scams. Any other scammy types to add on to that one?
So our big ones recently have been like law enforcement scams where they say you're in trouble with the law, that you're going to be arrested if you don't deal with this right now. And I think the other big one we have right now is like a refund scam. So someone saying they're with a particular company, says that you were charged, $500. And if you want that to be wiped off your credit card, call us. And then they refund you too much money. So say they charge you $500, they accidentally refunded you $50,000, and now you have to pay back the difference. It sounds like a lot of money, but they'll say it was a typo. And, if you don't pay that money back right now, then it's essentially stealing. So those are the 2 big ones. They typically come in trends where, if we see one victim come to us saying that this happened, then you'll hear about 4 or 5 more within the next couple of weeks. Because the bad guys will try one thing until it burns out, essentially. And then they'll modify it or they'll move on to the next one that people haven't heard of. And it creates a couple more victims. But imagine for us to become aware of it, if it happens to 5 or 10 or 20 Peters residents, think how much that's happening across the wider United States. It's happening everywhere all day long.
So Payment methods. They may ask you to pay via an app or a service like Zelle, Cash App, Venmo. These are things that are usually hooked up to a bank account because it has to have some place it's pulling money from. And unfortunately, for some of these methods for payment, once you've paid, it's very difficult to get your money back. So there's debit cards, credit cards, gift cards, or reload checks, checks themselves, and then cash. And then, as Detective Caruso said, if it's a gift card, that should be an automatic red flag. Please don't do that. And then contact. They can contact you all sorts of different ways. As we said before, if it's a government agency or a company that you usually do business with, they will not contact you in a different way. They're going to can stick to those same forms of communication. So if your bank is contacting you via social media, sending you a Facebook message, Wells Fargo is not going to do that. It may be through a website or another app, an email to you, or a text or a phone call.
Yeah, for any of those, if you can't immediately dismiss it as a scam and you think, is this actually legitimate? Don't ever rely on that phone number, that text number, that email. Always look up either from an old correspondence or in the yellow pages or some other way to confirm the phone number or address. Or if it's a last resort, if you have to drive to your bank or to Best Buy or whatever company that might be. But always verify in a different way, separate from that communication that initially, came to your attention.
Okay, so this is an example of an actual email my coworker Carrie received in August. So at this point, I think this program had been planned and we knew it was happening. So my coworker Carrie received an email from our library director, our boss, Lacey Love. The subject was Carolyn Weaver, and it said, "I have confidential information to share. This should be encrypted mail, no calls. I'm very busy at the moment. Reply me on here as soon as possible. Best regards, Lacey Love, library director." So there were several things on here that immediately clued us in that this is not correct. First off, the email address was incorrect. Even though the name said Lacey Love, if you expand the email address, we know that's not her work email, and she would not be contacting us through her personal email. Next, the subject line was Carolyn Weaver. No one calls Carrie Carolyn. Everyone calls her Carrie. So it was very strange that they were using her full name for that. And then in these emails and texts and things, you'll typically see some typos on there. Reply me on here as soon as possible. There's also a lowercase I and some missing punctuation. And the fact that our boss is, 30 feet from our desks, and it was like, don't call me, don't come see me, encrypted email only, which, for us at the very small library we work at was a red flag. But if someone's at a larger corporation where you may not interact or see your boss daily, and you may only communicate via email, this may not be something that may not alert you as quickly, but there are some other signs.
Mm-hmm. So again, just like we said, even though it says not to call or email back about questions, if you took 5 seconds and called that person up or asked a coworker, does this sound right? They would help you understand that it's likely a scam. Mm-hmm. And you can understand, so like the library here, if you just did a Google search or went to peterstownship.com, I'm sure all or a lot of the employees would be listed on the website. So it's easy for the bad guys to find actual names of people that work in different places. I'm sure even in the administration building, a lot of those people would be on our website. Mm-hmm. That in 5 seconds, you could find all their names and all their titles and understand, okay, these people might, communicate with each other on a daily basis. Let's use these two names and see if we can run this scam.
Mm-hmm. And it is important to note, Carrie was not the only one who received that identical email that day. Several other people in the building did. So it's not like they were just like her there. It's like Detective Caruso said, like they're trying a few things. They're trying to casting a wide net and seeing who they can catch with it. Okay. So some scam by the numbers. In 2022, the FTC breaks it down by age groups. So there's the 20s through 59s. And the first line on all of these is the average amount that was scammed per person. So it ranges from $548 to $600 for the 40 to 49s. The second line is instances. So of these four age groups, the 30 to 39-year-olds reported the most scams. I say the word reported because that doesn't mean that they were scammed the most. They're just the ones that reported it. And the next three lines, we have the top scam that they were scammed by, the top payment method that was requested, and then how they were contacted the most. So for the 20 to 39-year-olds, we see online shopping and social media was how they were contacted. And then their payments may alter a little bit. It was interesting. Crypto only appeared on the 30 to 39-year-olds. And then as we move on, we see online shopping was here for all of them. But then we move into credit cards and they're being contacted via websites or apps, or maybe they've gone to a fraudulent website. And then for the 60 to 80 plus group, we see the amount that people were scammed by dramatically increase to $1,750 per scam. You'll see the instances drop, but that also is prevalent of the number of people that are 80 and older alive. And then also, again, those that are reporting it, or they're maybe having loved ones report it for them. We see online shopping stays there. And then for 80 and older, we have business imposters and then credit cards. And then we see gift cards start to enter it as well. And then how they're being contacted, phone calls for some other generations. So scammers are smart. They know what people are going to fall for, and they're trying things and targeting us.
And we've seen both ends of the spectrum here in Peters even. So we've seen young victims and we've seen old victims. I ran the numbers earlier, and we have about 100 reported fraud type incidents, and we're just over 300 days into the year. So that's one every 3 days, just here in Peters. Because again, these bad guys are not interacting with you in person. They're not coming to Peters. They're doing it maybe from across the world. And so it's just as easy for them to come here as anywhere else. And there's no threat of being caught, red-handed in person. So they kind of feel emboldened anywhere they go.
And a little bit more, because the FTC really hammered this point home, and Detective Caruso did as well. Like, these government agencies are not going to contact you in a new way. They're not going to message you on Facebook. But the total number of reports of scams involving government imposters in 2022 was almost 200,000 that were reported across the United States. And the top payment method was gift cards. The IRS does not want an Amazon gift card. They just want your money, and they'll take it from your paycheck if they want it badly enough. They're not coming for an Amazon gift card. And then they were contacting people via phone, was that top contact. So this is Social Security, Health and Human Services or Medicare scams, U.S. Customs and Border Protection, U.S. Postal Service, and the Federal Trade Commission was even had people impersonating it and scamming others. So just a few reminders: government agencies will not call you out of the blue with a threat or a promise of money. Don't trust your caller ID, like Detective Caruso said. It may show up IRS, but then there's usually a way on your phone to see what the actual phone number is. And then if you Google a number, a lot of times it pops up because they reuse some numbers and it'll be a scam. Check with the real agency itself. If you go to the agency's website, they always have a 1-800 number, and you can always call and ask, like, is there something that involves me right now? And then never pay with a gift card or wire transfer, and make sure you report it. Which leads us.
Yeah, we would say, so reporting. But even before reporting, we want to prevent a lot of these. We want to prevent all of them from happening in the first place. So taking the 5 minutes to ask a family member, a friend, or even coming to the police to say, is this legitimate? That's easy. We're going to be much happier if you contact us or stop at our station with that type of question, rather than having to come in saying, I lost $500, $1,000, $10,000 in this scam. And then, hearing the bad news that we'll investigate, but it's highly unlikely that we recover that money because it's probably been bounced around a lot, in the last 24 hours. So taking that time to see if it's legitimate. Nothing is so important that you have to do it right now. Not even when it's the federal government saying that, you're behind on taxes. You're not going to resolve that matter in an hour on the phone, right? So telling that person, even if you want to be polite, telling that person, I need to talk to my husband, my wife, my children, my friend, I need to talk to someone so I feel more comfortable about this, and I'll call you back, whether you mean that or not. But, leaving it open-ended in case it is legitimate. But getting confirmation from a friend, family, or the police, and then finding that verified way to contact them back so that you're talking with the real government or the real business, not the scammer. And then if you have fallen for it, then we can move on to how you report it.
So did I skip one? No. So how Detective Caruso was saying, sometimes your money is gone. If it's a credit, debit, or bank transfer, you should contact your bank immediately. A wire transfer, contact that wire transfer company. Gift cards, contact the company that issued the card. This is just, you can try to contact it and see if that money has moved yet. If it's a money transfer app, contact the company and your bank if it's linked to an account. If it's cryptocurrency, those are typically irreversible. Once it's gone, and cash, if it's sent by mail, contact the United States Postal Service Inspection Service, and hopefully they're able to intercept it before it reaches its final destination. But this is stuff where we need to act quickly for it. And then if a scammer has access to any of your personal information or for a device, depending on what you've shared with them. So if your social security number has been compromised, make sure you're taking steps to monitor your credit. If they have access to a username or password for a website, change it. Computer, make sure you have updated security software. Delete anything a scam identifies as or anything that a scan identifies as a problem. Check accounts that they may have had access to, update passwords. And if they've had access to your cell phone, contact your service provider, check your apps and accounts, and update passwords.
Yeah, we didn't touch on it yet. We have seen a lot where the scammers will convince the person, the victim, to download something from a website, and it gives that scammer access to control your computer remotely. So if you ever hear someone saying, go to this website or download this program, big red flag. You never want to give someone else access or remote access. Even, a lot of them will be, pretending to be Microsoft. So you would think, okay, Microsoft, that's on my computer, right? It'll be fine if I let them on. But there should be no one who has remote access. You have to be very careful on what you download, because it'll either give them direct access or they'll make it appear like things are happening to your bank account, and then you're going to have to fix them afterwards.
And a lot of those things, they have programs built in to know what you're doing. So even if you haven't said, here's my username and here's my password to my bank account, if you're typing it into your computer later, or if you have that password saved on your computer and they have access to your computer, they probably have access to it. So it's not just sharing it physically with them or verbally, but if it's stored somewhere on your computer or your phone and they have access to it, they have access to it. And if, unfortunately, you feel like you are scammed, you should report it. So the FTC uses information to build cases against scammers, spot trends, educate the public, and share data. So whenever scams are reported to our local police, that intent gets that in turn gets reported on. So this is information about reporting it to the FTC, but if you just go with our local guys here, it gets reported along. So what would you say to someone if they felt they were scammed? What should their next steps be?
It's kind of like almost at the same time you want to report it to us and the banks. Sometimes the banks want like police report numbers, but hopefully they'll still like flag your account, put a hold on it so nothing else more happens in the meantime. But if you come to us, we're going to immediately refer you back to them because our investigation could take weeks or months. It's only the bank that might be able to, freeze your account or reverse transactions that have already happened. At least Little Peters Township doesn't have the power to like go freeze bank accounts or, pull money from one to the other. We mainly investigate. We'll follow the trail of that money, but it's all after the fact, and it's going to take time because we have to get search warrants. We have to wait for responses. We have to review that information and see, how all those pieces line up together. So definitely come to us. In Peters, at least, you have a couple different ways. You can call 911 and we'll come to you. You can come to our station, or you can just call us for that initial contact to see, what the best thing to do right now is. But most police departments are 24/7. So if it's 9 o'clock at night and you just got that call or realized that it was a scam, you can come to us. You can come to our front door. You can call 911 and we'll talk to you and start to work through it. So really, it's do not delay. A lot of the links will take you to websites where you can self-report. But you always want to go to the police and to the bank that might be involved, wherever that money's coming from.
This is just another one of what like the FTC's website for reporting fraud. They also, we were just talking about how, a government agency won't contact you via email, but you can sign up for a newsletter with the FTC where they'll tell you like trends and scams to look out for and what people are trying now and everything. But they won't ask you for money via email. And so these are a few steps to stay safe. And a lot of it is just reiterating what Detective Caruso was saying, if especially, number 5 on there. But if you have unwanted calls, text, or emails coming through, block them. You can't block everything, but you can try. Your phone companies do a lot to try to stop spam calls coming in. I know a lot of times my phone doesn't even ring now. It just said suspected spam call and it stays quiet. And I appreciate that, Verizon. Keep up the good work. And then don't give out your personal or financial information in response to requests that you did not expect. If someone is asking for personal information or your money out of the blue and you weren't expecting it, maybe that's where we pause and take a few moments to think about or talk to someone. Resist the pressure to act immediately. They want you to do something now. Try not to. Know how scammers tell you to pay. Watch out for those gift cards. And if you're unsure, stop and talk to someone you trust, whether that's a friend, family member, or contacting your local police department.
There are some things, without being biased, we still see a lot of the voice calls where the scammer has an accent. And like I said, that's because a lot of times they're not even calling from this country. So, we're not being prejudiced or biased, but it's still something that can and should raise a red flag. But they're always going to have pressure with threats of legal action or, arrest, and, wanting you to pay now. And those should all be big red flags. Yeah, good.
Okay. Well, thank you all for joining us again this evening. And I'll go back to this previous slide one more time, just to remind you of a few steps to stay safe out there. And when in doubt, I think the most important one is number 5, stop and just talk to someone you trust. Don't react too quickly. Take your time and talk to someone else. Anything else?
We covered it. Gift card scam. Gift card scam.